Just a few days ago, Steel Wool Studio, the dev team behind Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted and Security Breach, dropped this bombshell on Twitter, a teaser image for the free DLC of Security Breach that's coming out next year, Ruin. Today, we're going to dissect this image for every scrap of information we can find and use it to figure out what the DLC is actually going to be. So the tweet itself reads, "Returning guests will be granted free admission to the Pizzaplex." I wouldn't read too much into that itself. While it is confirmed that this DLC will be taking place after the events of Security Breach, this seems like more of a sneaky way to tease the fact that the DLC is free since you already own the game. Which, by the way, great PR move. Like, they're definitely trying to just forget about the mess that was the release of the game. Just look past that. Look, free DLC. But what details can we gather from the image itself? First off, we're not playing as Gregory anymore. Looking at the character in the center, it seems like we'll be playing as a little girl. With some sick light-up sketcher drip, I might add. Exploring the Pizzaplex after some terrible event, we get more confirmation that we won't be playing as Gregory, as it seems like we'll be trying to save him. See the security monitors on the top of the image showing Gregory in various situations, one with this mugshot and the words, "Help me." Some other details to note, as mentioned, the Pizzaplex is in shambles. It appears as though we're in the main atrium, as you can see what was once the giant golden glamrock Freddy statue. Wait. Golden glamrock Freddy. Golden Freddy. Did they fucking get away with that? Did we just not notice that the bear that has a purple bow tie underneath his paint has a statue made of gold? There go being a golden Freddy. Something else that's of importance, Chica. She's seen better days. It appears that not only did she take some serious damage in whatever happened here, but she partially melted as seen by the face dripping. But this also makes me really hopeful for the tone of the game. This design right here is scarier than any animatronic presented in the main game, aside from maybe Shattered Roxy. One of my largest complaints of the game, also Poppy Playtime, see last week's video, it's not scary. Like, this is a horror game, you're supposed to make it scary. They forgot to in the main game. It's too pretty and everything's polished. And even when they get shattered, they're just not scary. But this setting could definitely fix that issue. A burnt, decrepit, old Pizzaplex with ruined animatronics that just attack anything that moves. That could be scary. Alright, all that out of the way, with what we know, what can we glean off to assume what the DLC will be? Well, assuming everything in this teaser is going to be in the DLC, which is a big assumption knowing Steel Wool.
When I first found you, you were nothing. You were small, pathetic. But now, you want more. Are you ready?
Let's start with where we'd be leaving off. What ending is canon? So, spoilers ahead. And also, leave your own theories in the comments as to what the DLC is going to be. I'm speculating, everyone's speculating. Join in on the speculating. So as most of you know, FNAF Security Breach had 6 endings, and no one was really sure which one was canon. Many people assumed that it was the Afton ending, as it was the most fleshed out and animated. But we have no concrete proof of an ending being canon. Well, now that we have a DLC taking place immediately after, we can figure out what ending we're working with. Starting with the most obvious detail, the Pizzaplex is in a crumbled and burnt state. This pretty much immediately knocks out the alleyway ending, the van ending, and both vanny endings. In all of these endings, Gregory just hightails it out of there and leaves the Pizzaplex be. There should be no reason for it to be this way. So, taking that into account, we really only have 2 endings possible, the fire escape ending and the Afton ending. In the fire escape ending, we see Glamrock Freddy set the place ablaze. Vanny confronts them, he tackles her off the building, and Gregory runs off scared and alone. In the Afton ending, after traveling down the sinkhole into Freddy Fazbear Pizzeria Simulator location, and confronting Burntrap, the building begins to collapse on itself, and Afton is held under the wreckage by the Blob. He didn't beware the Blob, even when it creeped and leaped and glided and slided across the floor, right through the door, and all over the wall. That was a dumb joke. Do I leave that in? Yeah. Did you notice the issue here? In the 2 endings we have of the pizzeria being completely destroyed, Gregory makes it out alive. He's not in there anymore. So why would the Pizzaplex be damaged, but Gregory still be inside? This is where speculation starts to come in. I see us realistically having 3 options for the DLC. 1, it's either not canon to the game, or all of the endings we've experienced aren't canon. I really don't like this option, it's lazy, and it ruins all the speculating everybody's been doing for half a year now. But it's possible. The second, and what I see to be as the most canon option, is that Gregory isn't in the Pizzaplex at all. Take a look at the Afton ending again. Have you noticed anything? Vanny's nowhere to be found. She's not in the basement, so she's presumably upstairs when things start sinking into the ground. If Gregory and Freddy can escape the one-way sinkhole in the ruined, crumbling restaurant like 200 feet underground on fire, there's no reason to believe Vanny couldn't just walk out the exit door. So now, the creation she was groomed into creating by Glitchtrap and the building she used to make it are in ruin. What does she have left? What can she do? Well, she needs one thing to start over: more remnant. Vanny needs new kids to kill. But how does she lure them in? Well, she has a lot of one thing: security footage of Gregory. She sends out a message through the special delivery AR system that she has canonically used before to nearby children, pretending to be Gregory, a boy who was trapped when his favorite pizzaplex collapsed. Then she just lies in wait for poor unfortunate souls to wander in. That seems fairly likely, but there is one more possibility. Note that when we were discussing endings, I mentioned that only 2 endings, canonically, the pizzaplex is destroyed. But how does the pizzaplex get destroyed in those canonical endings? If you look at the Afton endings, we really aren't the ones that are destroying the pizzaplex. Simply the act of us going down to see Afton and the thrashing about of the blob is what ultimately causes the pizzaplex to collapse. You see the notes throughout the game that this is an unstable building. It was gonna collapse any day now. So it's conceivable that the building would collapse anyway after any of the other endings. So if we can assume that, what possible endings are there where Gregory doesn't make it out? Well, there's only one ending where Gregory doesn't survive: the alleyway ending. Before this DLC announcement, it was always assumed that she just kills Gregory here. I mean, she threateningly brandishes a knife and stands there menacingly. But we technically don't know. We just know that she found him. Unfortunately for Gregory, he wasn't able to protect himself. If only he was able to do something to protect himself. Like you can by liking the video and subscribing to help my small channel, because it'll totally protect you from murder bunny girls. I'm not threatening. I'm promising. No. Anyway, Gregory just got done wreaking havoc. Vanny and presumably Afton, if he knows anything. I don't really know what he knows in his weird cryostasis chamber. They're pissed at Gregory. He destroyed 2 out of the 4 animatronics in this ending of the pizzaplex and learned way too much. It's very conceivable that Vanny doesn't just want to kill him. She wants to make him know what he's done. What if, in her anger, instead of killing him, Vanny kidnaps Gregory, brings him back into the pizzaplex, down to Afton to meet what he almost thwarted. And, as a reward for catching him, he gets to be Burntrap's first victim. However, because they went down that same elevator and agitated that same blob, the pizzaplex still collapses, with Gregory trapped inside and an unknown number of antagonists trying to get him. Somehow, someway, someone out there knows he's in here. Or maybe some local kid exploring the dilapidated ruins of their favorite pizzaplex gets a strange message on her still functioning Fazwatch when a little boy is calling for help from Freddy. Alright, so we have a couple ideas of how the DLC starts, but what actually will be in the DLC? Well, that really depends on which of these endings is true, because that'll dictate what happens within the DLC, and whether or not Gregory is actually in the pizzaplex at all. If the second option is true, then we play as a girl going to explore the dilapidated ruins of the pizzaplex. After exploring a bit, our Fazwatch beeps with a boy asking for Freddy, the animatronic. We answer, saying we don't know where he is. Then the boy says his name is Gregory and that he's trapped and needs help. We then delve deeper into the ruined pizzaplex, avoiding melted, demolished animatronics that seek our every move, and try to get Gregory before Vanny can. Eventually, they meet up and hightail it out of there. While potentially scarier than the main game, this DLC doesn't really add much. It just kind of prolongs an ending that was already assumed. So while this is a very likely option, if we want some meat on the bones of this DLC, I think we'd rather get the other option. The opening and the gameplay would be exactly the same. We're a little girl exploring a rundown pizza place. We get a distress call to our watch, and we delve in to save him. However, the ending of this game is much darker. When we finally get to where Gregory should be, we only find the watch that's been sending us these messages in front of a security monitor playing footage of Gregory, just like what we see in the teaser image. Then the door shuts as Vanny steps into the room, and she giddily exclaims that will be perfect to start rebuilding her master. Right there, it ends. I know that's a dark ending, but we're talking about Steel Wool here. Do you remember Help Wanted? There were 3 endings in that game, and it was A, get stuffed into a Freddy suit by Glitchtrap, B, meld into Glitchtrap, or C, get locked in the weird bunny dungeon forever. So they're not a stranger to sad, bad endings. It's possible. So that's a theory. And if this really is what the DLC is going to be, it begs the question, what's next for the franchise? What other games can come after this? Lucky for you, I made a video about that right here. Cheeky, right? Shout out to the best patron Emberisk, and until next time, as always, stay toasty.